After spending more than 1 trillion US dollar, or to be more accurate, more than 183 billion US dollar, according to BBC, by the US in Afghanistan. After deploying more than 100,000 US troops in Afghanistan by the US. And after spending more than 100,000 civilian casualties in Afghanistan during the past 20 years of conflict and war in Afghanistan. And after 20 years of Taliban fighting against the government of Afghanistan, we still face the same insecurity, violence, terror, and war in our beloved country, Afghanistan. But this is really great and a significant event in the history of our country, that after 20 years of violence, war, and insecurity, both sides, the government of Afghanistan and Taliban, they have understood that no one can win this war or violence by using violence or war. And this is great that both sides have chosen the way of peace negotiating through dialogue and talks. And I personally welcome this initiative that it is taking place right now in the capital city of Qatar, in Doha. While peace negotiations are taking place in Doha, there are some important points that I think that both parts of these negotiations should consider them seriously. The first point: peace and security have been the ultimate dream of every citizen of Afghanistan, and no one can deny it. Now, it is important that both sides, they should trust each other, and they should carry on these peace negotiations, and they should come up with a sustainable peace and security for our country. The second point is that the Western countries, including EU, United States, United Nations, and other international organizations and institutions, they must take this peace negotiations seriously, and they should stay committed and loyal for these peace negotiations. And they should not commit the same mistake as they did during the peace conference of Bonn in 2001. For example, Taliban were not invited during this conference in Bonn, and therefore we still face the same violence and war for the past 20 years in Afghanistan. The Western countries, EU, United Nations, and US should encourage both sides of the negotiating team so that they should trust each other, and they should come nearer, and they should bring a peace and security with democratic human rights. Now, the third point is that peace and security without fundamental political, social, and civil human rights means nothing, and it is not possible. Peace without injustice and equality means nothing. Now, there are a lot of countries that they have peace and security, but the people of those countries, they lack their fundamental basic human rights. A good example of such countries is North Korea. Now, North Korea has peace and security, and there is no bomb blasts or terrorism every day in the streets of North Korea. But the people of North Korea, they don't have the right to express their thoughts. They don't have the right of freedom of speech, and they don't have even the right to move freely and by their own wishes. We don't want a peace and security where our human rights and our fundamental basic rights are not taken seriously, and we don't have any human rights. We don't want such a type of peace and security. It is better to die freely than to die being as a slave without having any rights. Now, the fourth point is that the victims of this war, terrorism and terror, their demands, their wishes, and their perspective must be one of the core points of these peace negotiations, because no one can feel and understand how it feels when someone loses a family member or a beloved one in a war or violence. and therefore the demands of the victims of this war should be taken seriously by both sides, the government of Afghanistan and Taliban, so that after these peace negotiations, the peace and security that we get, the victims of the war, they should feel this peace and security. They have the priority to feel this peace and security after paying these tremendous casualties for these 20 years of violence. They deserve this peace and security on first hand. And the fifth point is that all religious and ethnic minorities and vulnerable groups, including women and children, their rights must be protected and guaranteed during these peace negotiations, and they should have their rights after these peace negotiations. We know that women, children, and minorities are the direct victims of this violence, war, and insecurity, and they should not have the same situation, and they should not face the same future after these peace negotiations. At least they should feel that there is something positive in their life or in the life of their future children. And the next point is we, the new generation. Being the new generation or the current generation of our country, we must stay accountable and awake what is happening during these peace negotiations. We should not let any side or any party to play with the future of our life or to play with the future of our children. If something goes wrong during these peace negotiations by any sides or by any party, we must stop it. We should not make the same mistake as our fathers did like 20 years ago. And we all understand that we are the direct victims of the incorrect peace conference of Bonn, and therefore we live in different countries, and we have made more than 6 million diaspora. Right now we don't live in our country. Being as the new generation, we should not let that the same mistake should happen again. We should stay awake and accountable, and we should control and stay focused on these peace negotiations. And the last point goes to Taliban. Taliban, if you are the true sons and fathers of this country, and you believe in humanity and peace and security, then I urge you personally to terminate and stop this violence, war, and insecurity, and come in and live in security and peace. Have a peaceful life with your children, with your family, and with your loved ones. Whom are you fighting against? Fighting against your own Muslim brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, and your own children? Do you think that your children, your sisters and brothers, they deserve to live in violence and war? Of course not. Even you don't deserve this life. And we don't deserve this life either. And those other family members, they don't deserve this life either. So we need to understand each other, that we have a common pain and we have a common catastrophe, and therefore this is the only chance that we have gotten to accept each other, to trust each other, and come with a sustainable peace and security. To terminate my point, all Western countries must stay loyal and committed for this peace negotiation, and they should encourage both sides of the negotiating teams, that they should trust each other and come with a sustainable peace. We as a new generation must stay awake and accountable what is happening during these peace negotiations, and we should not let anyone to play with our future and with our life. And the victims of this war and terrorism, their demands and their wishes and their perspective must be one of the core points of these peace negotiations, and they should feel this peace after the negotiation process. And all religious minorities and ethnicities, also women and children, their rights must be protected and guaranteed during this these peace negotiations, and they should not have the same situation as they have right now. And I hope that both sides, they trust each other and they come up with a sustainable peace and security with our fundamental human rights, that the peace and security with human rights, that everybody can feel a part of this country and everybody feel the security regardless of which color, race, ethnicity or belief they may belong to. A sustainable peace for everyone, for the children of Taliban and for us and for our coming future. And I hope that this happens. Thank you all.